Hello everyone, welcome to Wind Down Friday. Today our special guest is Dermot O'Shea, CEO of Taoglas. Hi Dermot, welcome aboard. How's it going?
Hi Maurizio, everything's going great. Thanks for having me on today.
Thank you. Where are you based?
I'm based in San Diego, where our corporate headquarters are, but I'm originally from Ireland, where our operational headquarters are. So yeah,
Good, nice. So Dermot, welcome aboard at Wind Down Friday. So I have a couple of questions to share with you. I hope you will like. We will talk about you, about your company, hobbies, and so on. So you have been in the global electronics industry since 1997, more or less. Please correct me. And
yeah,
co-founded Taoglas in 2003.
correct. Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah, so
you are
25
now
years.
you are leading the company as a CEO from San Diego, as you mentioned. So tell us more about you. What were the biggest challenges in scaling Taoglas from a concept to the global organization in this today in nowadays?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I feel like look, the biggest challenges are always, people at the end of the day. It's a people business, and the best part, the thing I enjoy the most is working with people. All the different customers,
Mhm.
suppliers, and people that we have in Glass. But that's always the most challenging, right? As you grow the team, it's easy to manage a small team, obviously, when you're 10, 20 people and you're kind of more like a bunch of friends in college. But then as it grows and it gets bigger, you have to learn how to hire, great managers, and you have to learn how to delegate and hand things over. And then you also have to learn how to deal with challenges when they come up, and then learn how to, replace great people when they leave. It's a bit of a roller coaster, really. You think I always feel like when everything's going well, that's when something goes wrong. You know what I mean? And then you have to deal with an issue. And when you're dealing with people, the ranges are huge. It could be personal issues, it could be tragedy. You know what I mean? It can be, dishonesty. The range is massive. You're dealing with all sorts of issues, so it'll play at your emotions sometimes, and I think that's why it's the biggest challenge.
So, what may you do some one example of a partnership or a deal? You mentioned something that was a real game changer for your company.
Yeah, well, for me, it's kind of the big one would be 2.5 years ago. We sold the majority of the company to a private equity firm from Philadelphia called Graham Partners. And that really changed the strategy of the company, the direction of the company. It's definitely made us a lot more efficient. It's allowed us to focus on, what our strength is, which is antennas. It's allowed us to like really, become like a bigger company with bigger company plans, processes, efficiencies than we would have, I would say, if we had have um, stayed by ourselves. So it's been a game changer from that perspective. So it's made us bigger. It's made us also very ambitious. We're looking to do acquisitions. We've done some in the past, but our plan for acquisitions now is a lot more aggressive and faster. So we're hoping to close one by the end of the year and looking for more. So I think it sets us up well for the future.
So, your company is known for innovation in antennas, IoT solutions. So, what do you see the next big growth area for the company? Not only in terms of area, but also in terms of technology per itself, talking about antennas.
Yeah, I think it's what they call physical AI, right? So everybody wants to be AI and put it. We all say AI, even if we're not AI, right? So, I think when they talk about physical AI, they mean autonomous, cars, robots, drones, etc.
Mm.
And we're seeing it. I think we've kind of seen it a lot with delivery solutions. Robots and drones doing deliveries. I think is the next big thing. We've already worked on a lot of warehouse automation robots. And then I think like after we go through the delivery and we get to true autonomous cars, then we've seen like the Tesla and Unitree robots and Boston Dynamics, etc. And just the motion and dexterity of the robots getting better and better. And I think, we're going to see that come then after the autonomous driving, in my opinion. Like we've taken for granted already things like the lawnmowers, the autonomous lawnmowers, that have been out there for some time now, and we've worked on those. And I saw my uncle over the summer who's in his 80s. He had an autonomous Husqvarna lawnmower outside his garden in the west of Ireland, and I kind of felt if he's able to buy it, set it up, and use it, there's a bright future for us in this next wave of technology that's coming.
So you have, let me say, a global experience. So traveling a lot from USA, Europe, Asia, and so on. So with this global experience, your global experience, what differences do you see in our markets like Europe and others that I mentioned would approach in terms of IoT and connectivity?
Yeah, I think like it just comes down to the business culture in each region, right? In the US, decisions are made very quickly, and the risk appetite is much larger. Like they'll borrow money to do an IoT project. They'll just go and do it, and if it doesn't work, they just move on. I think in Europe, we're a lot more conservative. We don't really have that appetite to borrow money for every project, so we wait a little bit longer, and we don't like to take the risk as quickly.
Mhm.
So I feel like we wait and see how others adopt the technology first, how other use cases mature a little bit before we kind of take the risk. And then I do think in Europe, I'm not saying it's better or it's worse, but and sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse. But we take our time a little bit more, we test more, we dip our toes in the water a little bit, try and take the risks out of a rollout, more so. Now the disadvantage of that is sometimes you can lose the opportunity, right? Because somebody else has already got to market with a solution. Um, and I think in Europe it's very fragmented, right? It's still, even though we have the European Union, it's still very country based, so if you want to deploy solutions in Europe, you have to have a partner in each country that
Right.
speaks that language, that understands that local market. And Asia is like that too, right? I think there's also a lot of money right now in the Middle East. There's a lot of appetite to invest, but they're not as experienced from a technical perspective. They don't have the like 20, 30 years experience doing other IoT and connectivity rollouts that we have in the US and Europe. So that slows it down a little bit. And then I think Asia is underestimated. I think Asia is kind of like in between the US and Europe. Like I think they do things quickly, and it's less costly there to do rollouts, installations, and try things out. So they do have that advantage. But there's definitely a lot of money in Asia, in the Asian markets right now. There's a lot of appetite for investment, and I think all these regions have great potential for IoT. But it's probably similar to any other business, no matter what product you're selling. The local cultures and nuances dictate the differences, and that's what you need to understand. First is like, for example, in the US, the operators and carriers dictate a lot of what goes on, like what devices get on the network, and the pricing and things like that. Whereas in other regions, there's none of that. It's just get the SIM cards. So you really have to look at each region and hire people locally in that area that understand the culture, the business environment there, and the individual kind of nuanced challenges of that region before you just go and roll it out.
So you are a member of YPO and the various boards. So may you tell me more. So how these those experiences shaped also your perspective as a leader.
Yeah, I think, being it definitely helps you, cast your net wider and
Mhm.
experience more, sharing from people that have been through different situations. Like for YPO, I would say it's not just helped me from a business perspective, it's helped me from a family perspective, it's helped me be more vulnerable. It's helped me, have a kind of trusted network of friends and colleagues to lean on as I go through challenges. And an example, when we talked about the private equity deal, like I spoke to a lot of CEOs in YPO who had gone through a process and sold their companies to private equity. So to have that, confidential, trusted, kind of conversation you can have with them was very, very valuable. And then, like on other boards, I love working with startups personally because it really, ignites the fire. I feel a little bit and gets me excited again about the market and the products and the potential. And then another interesting one I would say is on the board of the school of my children. You really kind of get an insight into what's coming next from employees, what their expectations will be, what's important from a cultural perspective. You kind of get a preview of that from being on a school board. So look, different experiences from each, but definitely always something that you can learn from and then relay back into your own role as a leader, to make you a better leader. You've probably heard, these when you're on these boards, you'll hear of different scenarios and in life, whatever it is, different challenges, and then you can refer back to that person if that pops up for you. You can go, "Oh, I remember Maurizio talked about this last year. I'd like to get his perspective on it," so that you can, go into problems with like, having heard a great relevant experience share, and then you can analyze the situation better yourself and make a better decision and hopefully have a better outcome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Dermot. Nice. So, talking about the philosophy of Wind Down Friday, I usually ask to the speaker about hobbies. We have job, we have for sure, but beyond job, so you are passionate about sports, travel. I hope for so with family, just for vacation sometimes. So, which is your favorite way to recharge your battery outside the work? Favorite sport? Favorite city to visit? So a good wine. So tell me more.
Yeah, so I love sports. Yeah, I love watching sports and I always love playing sports, but I'm 51 tomorrow. So I had to retire from hurling and soccer, which were sports I really enjoyed to play. But these days I surf. So I started surfing about living in San Diego. It's a little
Yeah.
easier. So I started surfing 8 years ago, and I became obsessed with it. And it's great because you don't get the injuries of running and things like that. It's low. There's non-impact. I surf with a group of other men, so it's good for friendship and fellowship, etc. And it's just a great. It has a little bit of everything: meditation, exercise, focus, improvement. And we have surf trips a couple of times a year, so that's something to kind of train for and look forward to. So I feel like it incorporates everything, and like even though I'm in my 50s, I'm getting better at it. Do you know what I mean? And then I train in between when the waves are bad, or if I'm not in San Diego, I'll train in the gym for surfing. So it's kind of like my whole, yeah, exercise routine is around optimizing my body for surfing. So I love it. I love getting in the water. It's you're with nature. You see dolphins. You'll see and
Wow.
you've no phone, you've no Apple Watch, you're truly. I find with other sports like if you're running or cycling or walking or anything like that, you tend to check your phone. Or think about things a little bit too much. When you're surfing, I don't think about anything but the next wave and where my position is and how I'm going to get it before the other guys.
So in conclusion, Dermot, my last one. Thank you for sharing. So just So please share some key takeaways that you would like to leave to our audience, but in particular, so the final is what's next from you? What are your top priorities right now to keep your company, Taoglas, ahead of the curve?
Yeah, so I think it's nonstop, right? I've been doing this for 23 years now, and you always kind of sometimes think like when we get when we do this, everything will be easier. When we get this deal done, everything will be better. And it never stops, right? It never stops. So I think right now, today, what we're working on is AI enablement. So we're reviewing and I think it's not necessarily that any AI tool will make us better, but what's happening is we're reviewing all our processes. And you can't, AI won't make bad processes better, it'll make them worse. So what it's doing is everything from how we respond to queries online, how we evaluate and assign leads to sales, how we process orders, how we confirm orders to customers. That's all going through a review right now. And we will enable AI in order for us to respond much quicker to our customers and also help our customers find the most relevant product on our website in the quickest time, and so that they can get a sample to their desk that's right for them in record speed. So it's reviewing all our processes. So I think the whole exercise will make us faster and better and cheaper, which is what our customers want, right? And if you don't do that, if you don't change and keep working on improvements, you'll just slowly, actually very quickly in this market, you'll go down
Mm.
and die very quickly. So like most of our product sales this year are new products. They're not the stuff that we had 10 years ago. So, we do over 200 NPIs per year. And we want to increase that as well. So it's really non-stop. So it's a very fast paced environment that we're in. But I think most people that work in this industry love it for that reason. It's because it's always changing and there's always technological advancements and developments, and we have to adapt to that and keep innovating,
Yeah.
and keep coming out with new stuff. And I think that's what we like, right? I think we're the type of people that would get bored if we were just, watching investments grow or something like that. We have to be like constantly challenged. So it can be stressful sometimes, especially, where these months like September to November, it's always
Mm.
crazy time. But then it slows down again in December, right? And ramps up again in January. So you kind of have peaks and troughs. But like for people that enjoy fast-paced environments, that enjoy working in innovation technology, I think this is a great place to be. And I certainly love working here every day.
So let's surf with Taoglas.
Ride the wave, ride the AI wave, I suppose. We gotta jump on the bandwagon, right? I think it is definitely an exciting time. Like I think we see, there's a lot of money going into it, right? I heard last week it's like 6.5% of US
Mm-mm.
GDP is AI spend because of the Mag 7 are spending so much money on it. So, whether we like it or not, all of our equipment's going to be replaced, right? But that means, hopefully another good upturn in our market for the next few years. So it's definitely an exciting time. And I love riding this wave, as you said, because again it pushes you to learn. You know what I mean? Like I've learned so much myself about AI in the last 6 months. I'm reading about it, I'm listening to podcasts, we're implementing it in work because I don't want to fall behind. Like I don't want to be in a meeting where people are talking about stuff that I don't know and I don't understand it or have not tried it myself. So we're definitely encouraging it and we're embracing it and we're excited about its potential. I don't think you know, we won't have robots doing our jobs in the next 20 years or whatnot or answering my emails, but I do think we'll see, improvements on an incremental basis, particularly in the workplace, right? Taking out, inefficiencies, taking out, increasing productivity, and that's what it's all about. So, I'm excited for it, and I think all of our industry is.
Good, very exciting time. Thank you, Dermot. Thanks a lot for sharing. And I wish you a good weekend, a good day, and see you next in some conferences. Thanks a lot.
You too, ciao, Maurizio. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.